Welcome to the Football Guys Dynasty Show. It's me, your favorite professional nerd, Jagger May, and with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host and Dynasty captain, Jeff Bell. As promised, we have our new teammate, Mike Cash, and as we promised last week, we're going to be talking rookies. We're talking quarterbacks. Before we continue, don't mention Cam Ward, guys. Don't mention don't, whatever quarterback you've thought of, he's on the list. We're talking four, not because we only know four, not because we're ranking four, because we need to build a show over multiple weeks. So you're getting four. We will talk about Cam Ward. I will scream metaphorically and might wake up my cat from napping, and you don't want that. So we'll jump right into it. We're going to discuss the strengths, weaknesses, see where we agree, disagree, and just kind of gauge where you should be buying these prospects. And by prospects, I mean you're going to be buying the picks or maybe deciding if you're going to build your team around them. For starters, this is a weak QB class. I've actually knocked a lot of guys on scores, and I'll make sure to have an article in here where I go in a little bit more depth in the scouting profile. The first one that we got is Shedeur Sanders. Strengths, he's got NFL accuracy, good velocity, very good playmaker off schedule. His weaknesses, it's the same as like every QB that comes out now. I feel like poor timing, and then at times it's his progression. Like I pointed you guys a pre-show that like his Arizona game, he has a problem. He'll stare Travis Hunter down and won't go through his progression, and it's really adamant when he gets pressure. As soon as there's pressure, he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna stay here and not work my way down. Sometimes he doesn't step up into the pocket. I've been touting him as a QB1, but now that I've knocked his score down, I think this leaves room for someone like Drew Allar. I don't know, man. It's not as strong as it used to. Cam Ward. Jeff, we'll start with you. Where are you at? Do you like Sanders, or are you one of these people who want to avoid him?
So I just now realized that we pulled Lad McConkey off of the other show because I was going to go on a whole tangent about how Lad McConkey, every single scouting report called him a slot receiver, gym rat, and it really undersold that Lad McConkey was a player capable of making plays downfield. That tangent is to say, Shedeur Sanders, I think you're going to get a lot of scouting reports that are going to tout his mobility and dual threat ability and all that. And
Nope.
yeah, he is exceptional at making plays off platform, at extending plays, at keeping plays alive. But he's not going to be a dual threat. He has not been a dual threat player in his career. It would be surprising to see him be a dual threat player at the NFL level. I think his processing would surprise a lot of people. They sit down and watch it. I think that his creativity off platform, those types of things that he does possess in his game, you can tell he's grown up around the game, and he's got tremendous physical talents. He does have the arm talent to be able to make throws, but I think that you're going to get some labeling off of the package that's not going to be accurate.
It's almost like yeah. I love that you started with Lad McConkey. So I'll just say it, guys. A lot of people are like, black dude, run. And that's just like not the case, man. He's he's closer to like CJ Stroud, where he can get it done. CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, he can scoot a little bit. If you're at the goal line, you can do an RPO. I know people are starting to trickle in the slow mesh. You can do little things like that, but everyone's expecting Jaden Daniels, get out of here. I know off the field, I think there's going to be, you've heard me rant about this, Jeff. There's going to be a lot of narrative about what people think off the field. And like, well, he blamed his offensive line. It's like his offensive line sucked. And like, maybe he shouldn't have said that, but like he wasn't wrong. So Mike, where are you at? Feel free to hate Shedeur all you want. I know a lot of people do.
I'm like walking the line here because I like him. Like I see the tools. I think he has very similar tools, and this might get a little flack. Like there's similar tools to what Tua has. Like he's a very good processor when he wants to be. He can throw in rhythm when he wants to, but he's almost like a reckless Tua. Like every once in a while, he's like, I'm making this play. And like, he'll see internal pressure. He'll read it because you see him immediately scramble, but like he doesn't have the wheels that the Sanders last name would make you think that he has. So pointed out, there's some very strange metrics on here. Like his time to throw is almost 3 seconds. Like it's pretty long.
It's really long, man.
Yeah. But the ADOT is only 8. Like it's not like he's making out of the pocket and sending these deep bombs. Like he's running around a lot and then checking it down or running this like very slow tunnel screens. Like it's very weird. I think he can run an offense. I think with the right system and the right coach, like they're going to kind of take those nitpicking things out. But dude, the pressure to sack, It's 21%. It's not ideal. But I still think that you can see a path. You can see the offense being able to be run by Shedeur Sanders. We just need to get him to maybe chill out a little bit. Stop being so reckless.
And to give you some context on the ADOT, at the beginning of the season and while they lost some games, is Pat Schumer wasn't doing a lot of motion. He wasn't making it easy. A lot of the stuff was downfield, and that offensive line was not holding up to it. And then I can't remember the game of it, but it was, there's no such thing as like a second half adjustment, but they did adjust in the second half on there. What I mean by they don't sit down and they don't have time to rally up the team and then they're going to tell them what they're going to do. Most of the time you're eating an orange slice and like you may get to the quarterback and then you're running back out there. And it's up to the offensive coordinator to do some of these things. And they made the field a little bit shorter and they started using all of their wide receivers and it's helped a lot. And that's why it's weird. There is a good Shedeur Sanders and there's a bad Shedeur Sanders. I turn on the Arizona game and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? This is bad Shedeur, but that's also bad play calling. No motion to help him identify what's going on defense. And then he was just sitting there staring at stuff. Then you look at other games, you're like, oh wow, he's processing, he's progressing. And that's why, like Jess said, he can do all these things. What keeps him from being like a perfect prospect is like some of these guys do it every game and there's very few mistakes. And like Jeff, who are you talking about? Like a wide receiver? Shedeur Sanders, he's like one of those players. He's like, all right, man, can you do a layup? And he's like, sure. Then he like 360 windmills and you like don't need to do all that. Just like you're like, okay, cool, dude, just like put the fries in the bag, bro. Like I don't need you to do all that. Like 3 steps and get rid of the ball. And he doesn't do that. So like sometimes I'm like screaming at my monitor at him for trying to be extra.
Yeah, and you talk about the off the field there. Deion Sanders, the program stresses accountability, and it's a public form of accountability. Yeah. And I think that sometimes you'll have behind the scenes accountability, and there's a certain way that we've come to believe that players should hold themselves out in the media. I think Deion Sanders stresses a very public accountability, and I think that, I mean, it's his son, as his quarterback, is an offshoot of that, and that's why you see some things out that other places they probably wouldn't be out. And I think some of the other holding the ball, those types of things, I mean, there's certainly some level of adjustment to the football that he's playing. He was playing at Jacksonville State. That was a lower level, and he was probably able to get by with more physically, athletically, and especially when you've got Travis Hunter at Jacksonville State, that's pretty good at Jacksonville State, and that's going to win you a lot of football games. When you're playing Power 5 football and you don't have the offensive line, you're going to have to adjust, and I do think that he has, for the most part, adjusted in his career, made those necessary steps.
Yeah, I agree as well. Anything else before we move on? All right. Before we go any further, let's pay some bills. Like and subscribe, guys. You know what to do. Anyone who's ever watched a YouTube video, smash that like. Leave me a comment. Yeah, blah blah. But if you're listening to me on Spotify or on Apple, I need you guys to leave those comments. I need you guys to leave those reviews. That's how we know that you really love us. And each star is one hug to me, to Jeff, and now to Mike. So, and if you want to read more rookie content, more dynasty content, and if you want to get around a lot of those pesky paywalls and use all of our cool tools, especially when we get into the nitty gritty of prospect season, this is just the surface, guys. Go over to footballguys.com/plans today and sign up. Enough of that, though. Man, you want to talk about some disappointments? Quinn Ewers, man. Quinlan Ewers. That's not his full name, but let's just say it for effect. Buddy, it's not good.
Yeah.
Like I went through his tape again to update my score, and I already did the physical fade, the physical shadow realm. I set them there, but I didn't actually get the score down. And I went through there and looked at it. He's back. Like with Fudge, Cornelius Fudge said with Voldemort, but except this Voldemort isn't talented, but he still has a wand to make a lot of mistakes. I will say when he has a clean pocket, his strengths, good at timing, modest accuracy, but as soon as there is an inch of pressure, poor mobility. His footwork goes to crap, and that release is funky. He like tries to arm stuff, and
Yeah.
I always tell people you could see athleticism in people's hips and his tightness when he throws that ball. He doesn't have that whip in it, and it shows a lot. Sometimes the velocity's there, but to consistently make these plays where you're not trying to force it with your arm and you get those accuracy issues, I don't think he has it. Now the rumors are coming out that, like Quinn Ewers could transfer. And I'm like, buddy, I don't know if that draft stock's going to help if you're not going to get it done at Texas. So, Jeff, are you just as down on Quinn Ewers? Is he on day 3 watch now?
When you put him on the list, my first reaction was, are we sure we're talking about a 2025 prospect? Because he could hit that portal and go into college free agency. And I don't know, I'm watching a guy in Columbus that right now I probably would be a little bit more interested in seeing if Quinn Ewers can get it figured out than the guy that went out and couldn't beat Michigan this past week. So I don't know that he's going to be in the NFL draft, to be blunt, because I think he reminds me of Bo Nix, but before Bo Nix went to Oregon. Like if this is like Auburn Bo Nix, where it was like at Oregon he had an opportunity to reset, and the physical tools were certainly better, I think, for Bo Nix than Quinn Ewers. But it's kind of one of those things. I think he needs another season of college football, and I think that there are things that I hesitate to call the guy frail playing Power 5 football, but he does.
He is, though. He's got Derek Carr in him.
I vividly, obviously, I'm a big Ohio State fan. I vividly remember seeing him in knowing the level of prospect that he was coming out of high school, and seeing him in the first time step into a game in Ohio Stadium and thinking, like, this guy's not supposed to look like this. Like top 5 blue chip quarterbacks don't look like this kid right now. And that was, he left high school a year early, and that kind of plays into it too. He skipped his final year of high school. He's going to skip his final year or 2 of college too. I don't know. I think he needs to go back.
Yeah. And what I tell everyone, I play by the rules until there's an official announcement. Everyone goes in the pot, because I mean, Dillon Gabriel can't legally play any more college football, and I'm about to say a lot of nice things about him, but it's funny you mentioned that. You mentioned Bo Nix. The only pushback I have is that technically he's in a Bo Nix Oregon situation where I just don't think it doesn't get any better than Steve Sarkisian as far as fixing quarterbacks. So it's like, is he going to go to Oregon and be kind of mediocre? Because like Oregon asks you to be a little bit more mobile. So like, where is he going to go to really improve his draft stock? Because most teams are going to be like, oh, wow, you went Mountain West. Of course you're going to be better,
I think you're underselling the weapons that he lost last year. I mean, losing Xavier Worley, losing Adonai Mitchell, losing Jadavian Sanders. I mean, that was big. And I think that you're underselling the pressure that having Arch Manning like breathing down your neck every single day and everywhere you go. Like that's a pressure cooker situation. And that's where I think some of the things that I see in Quinn Ewers' game are more mental related than maybe we both raised physical concerns so far, but I think it is a little bit more mental related potentially with Ewers.
You're not helping. Mike, where are you at on Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, luckily in the NFL, like he won't have any talented players behind him, so like there won't be any pressure there. So Quinn Ewers is the like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of prospects, because sometimes you'll see him get out there and his feet are married up with his arm, and you see him throw it like 68 yards into Isaiah Bond's breadbasket, and they're just running for touchdowns. They're scoring 1,000 points. And then you'll see him, like, I think something that's weird is that his eyes will process, but his feet don't move with him. And like, maybe that comes from hip tightness. Maybe that comes from a lack of understanding. Maybe that comes from the pressure and like he's a little bit scared. But if he can start to marry those things up, like we could see a very capable quarterback. He's still 21 years old. He doesn't turn 22 until I think it's like March-ish. So like extremely young to be saying like, oh, he's definitely declaring this year. I do agree. Like, let's put him back in the cooker for a little bit, put it on 450, get a little like braised top, see if we can get some Quinn Ewers in there. But it's like if Baker Mayfield had no swag. Like there's not a lot to like.
A Rizless Baker Mayfield. What you're describing is Derek Carr, dude. Like I keep saying Derek Carr. Like because it's like you said, it's even in the same game where I'll see a series and I'm like, wow, he's on time. He's getting the ball out. And then it's just one little thing. He's a total orchid. I call these players orchids, man. When everything is perfect, they are so beautiful. But if you move that orchid to one room, it's gonna die. And that's how Quinn Ewers is. As soon as there is a fraction or just a second of adversity, he's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine what happens in his head,
Yep.
And then he just like get the ball away. It's weird. He's like the opposite of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur is just like, you know what? He's like, I don't need this clean pocket.
I got it. Everything's gonna be fine. Yeah. Sanders he's just bluegrass. Like he's just gonna grow wherever. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna do whatever he wants. Quinn Ewers, orchid. If you like botany and Dynasty Fantasy Football, hit subscribe.
Yeah. Oh man. Next guy we're going to talk about is he feels like he's played football forever. It's Dillon Gabriel. Some of his strengths, it's exactly like Bo Nix, except he's smaller. Timing, accurate. I have concerns about his arm strength but sometimes it just looks fine. But we know in the NFL that Bryce Young looked fine. And then it's like that it wasn't, and Bryce Young had a lot more talent than Dillon Gabriel. And I said a tweet that apparently wasn't hot enough because like no one even said it was bad. But I said that Dillon Gabriel and Jackson Dart could be useful players because I don't see a lot of bad in Dillon Gabriel's game. And I mean that since he's been with Dan Lanning. And I think Dan Lanning, who is what everyone thinks Lincoln Riley is at this point. Like if I'm Miller Moss, I'm hitting up my boy Dano and I'm like, hey man, Oregon, not that far from California. And I'm trying to go there. So when I see someone like Dillon Gabriel and what he was asked to do, how fast he processes in that offense, I see someone who can be somebody, even if he's like a Gardner Minshew. I see that for him. Am I too crazy, Jeff? Is he just too old and I'm falling for an old guy whooping up on 17-year-olds?
No, not. I mean, I think he is a backup NFL quarterback. And I think that, he's thrown 2,000 NCAA passes. That's sixth all time. I'm a big believer in, I understand, like, especially skill position players, like wanting them to go early and the stigma around a player staying in school. I want a quarterback to see everything he possibly can at the NCAA level because we know the NFL is not committed to developing these quarterbacks. They're going to throw you out there and you're either going to sink or swim. And you're lucky if you get 2 or 3 seasons of bobbing around in the water without swimming strong before you are flushed out the bottom side. I think Dillon Gabriel has played so much football and seen so much football. That's what we tend to see in some of these players that I think Gardner Minshew, I'm glad you went there because that was kind of my thought of a player that Gardner Minshew had seen a lot at the NCAA level and played a lot of football. And in the NFL level, he understood how to carry himself. I think Dillon Gabriel is going to understand how to be a pro. He's going to understand how to prepare. He's going to be, like I said, a solid NFL backup. I mean, I'm not there on him being a starter. What's that?
Or like a bridge player, like
add him to the bullpen, Jeff Bell's bullpen of backup quarterbacks that we're just gonna throw the bullpen game out there. I would happily add Dillon Gabriel to the bullpen game.
Mike, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, when I saw you said that he was going to be a capable starter, I was like, we're coworkers. I should be nice. But when you say Gardner Minshew, I'm like, okay, that makes way more sense. I think. A 25-year-old, this is the best version of Dillon Gabriel you're going to see. He's in one of the best offensive environments. He finally went to a place that's going to play to his strengths. And he's fine. And, that's his best case scenario in the NFL. Like, he'll be fine. So, if you're looking for a fine backup quarterback, like Dillon Gabriel's your guy.
I think he's going to be a Jet, man. Like, the Jets are going to fumble the bag into QB. Aaron Rodgers is going to go. Dillon Gabriel's going to be sitting second, third round, and then he's going to play. And that's why I think Gardner Minshew is like, I was like, a lot of these guys aren't going to get a QB. They're not going to trade up to go get one of these. I mean, maybe Drew Aller is the prince that was promised that some people say. I haven't, I got to go through his tape in the morning. Maybe Shedeur Sanders really rockets up, but I mean, my ear is as close to the ground as it possibly can be without being in it. and no one is like in love with any of these QBs. So that's why I just think like Dillon Gabriel's going to get a job somewhere and he's going to be just enough.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to be just enough and he's going to keep getting a job being just enough. So
the Jets going from all of the excitement around Aaron Rodgers to then entering training camp with Jordan Travis versus Dillon Gabriel as their quarterback battle, it's going to be electric. I cannot wait.
I'm gonna bookmark our own stuff here because, like, I swear to God, and like that's what I keep like because I'm like doing mocks and stuff, and I'm like, get ready to speak Meadowland, buddy, because it's like one of these New York teams are gonna fumble the bag, man. You know it. Our last guy we want to talk about, Jalen Milroe. Remember when he went to he was a QB1 for like an hour for some people for like 6 plays, and now how the mighty have fallen. His strengths, boy, he's athletic, modest arm strength. Weaknesses, I said passing. Just like I'm gonna be honest.
Issues throwing the ball.
I was like everything else. It's like it's just wildly inconsistent, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like sometimes you'll see something, you're like, "Ooh, that's pretty," and then he'll immediately throw it in the dirt. His footwork, he has feet. They're
still there. We can see them.
Yeah. There's not a lot of anticipation. It happens, and I know it sounds like I'm crapping on him. If you script a play, you could tell where like those opening drives, Jalen Milroe, he like, oh buddy, you know, they scripted the F out of this one and he's rolling. But it's just not enough, guys. And you want to talk about an orchid? This guy, he doesn't need the ideal nerd. He needs an actual botanist that can make him in a lab. And I mean like Shane Steichen, maybe the myth that was Brian Daboll, maybe not the Brian Daboll we have now, just someone that's a QB whisperer. And I think he's going to be one of the biggest traps in fantasy. And we're reaching that Malik Willis type value here. What do you think, Jeff?
I mean, if you don't like Justin Fields, I don't know why you like Jalen Milroe, to be honest with you, because I don't know. I think you hit it pretty accurately there in terms of you're betting on the athleticism and betting on him figuring out. I think at some level, you're probably betting on the uniform because you saw Jalen Hurts in a somewhat similar package actually be able to figure it out. I'm not there on Milroe, and again, this is another player that I think needs to play and more football. I think all these quarterbacks, if you're not a slam dunk first round pick, I think you need to play as much college football as you possibly can play.
Get that paycheck, buddy, and become a legend somewhere, because if you ain't gonna hash it in the NFL, you're gonna be pulling a Greg McElroy at best, or maybe you're working for a car dealership. And I'm just it's the way she goes, man. That's the game now. Mike, where are you at on Milroe?
Yeah, I love if you match him in the perfect environment and the perfect system, then we can flip a coin and see if he works out.
That's what I'm saying. We're not even to the coin flip.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a couple of places where he's going to go and he's going to immediately be dead. There's a couple of places he could go where he'll like maybe be fine. I think he's one of those guys that, to be very funny, like a slam dunk start for a backup quarterback. Like when Malik Willis is playing NFL football, you start him in your super flex spot because he's going to score fantasy points. When Jalen Milroe, like starter goes down, he gets a shot. Like you're plugging him in because they're running like fancy wildcat all game. I think he just needs a little bit more time to figure out how to read the field, how to throw with anticipation, how to do all of the things that a quarterback in the NFL is asked to do. Otherwise, he's going to be relegated to like fancy Taysom Hill, maybe.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you got to think, man, Kalen DeBauer fixed Michael Penix. And there's a lot to like about Michael Penix already, but he wasn't as polished as he looked towards the end of the season. And then Jalen Milroe just hasn't been there.
Yeah.
What do you think can actually work for Jalen Milroe? Like if you were to marry him to the right NFL team, the Rams.
Yep. Put him with the Rams. Let him sit behind Matt Stafford for a year or two. If a team
that's about it.
Commits to Daboll and they say like you have 2 years, that's a coin flip. Maybe the Colts are done with Anthony Richardson, which they shouldn't be, and they decide to just re-roll with worse Anthony Richardson. That would be fun. But yeah, it's not a lot of places.
Yeah. the Rams is where I'm at. Like if he goes to the Rams, I'm like, okay, I'll throw a late second, early third, if I'm desperate. But it's just we he's gonna guys mark this show down. He's gonna be a problem. All these quarterbacks, someone is gonna tell you, well, look at his production, and we're gonna fall for it this year. Like, I'm not saying that we got a lot of Kenny Pickett's, but I definitely think that we might have some Justin Fields, we might have some Kenny Pickett's, we might have some Gardner Minshew's, but everyone thinking that they're gonna draft a CJ Stroud. I was kind of there, and I'm less there than we were now. And I know everyone's got to see that fancy rushing. I know some data bro is going to put out something about production and compare him to some good quarterback. That's just don't. Let's just don't, guys. Just don't.
If a class doesn't have a number one, if a class doesn't have a top guy, then a class doesn't have a top guy. And I think that sometimes you look at last year's class with Caleb Williams and you saw, well, there's Caleb Williams. And then also, well, there's Drake May and there's Jane Daniels. And you say, well, there might be multiple top guys. That's one thing. That's a different conversation. The Kenny Pickett class, when you're talking yourself into Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett, like, that's something else. And I'm really curious to see how it plays out, because we see all the success of the rookies. And I think arguably right now, we feel like every rookie that's played has hit from this past class. Is that going to have teams be more aggressive on that position? Or are they going to look at that Pickett class and say, well, we didn't like any of these guys. We made the right call of not taking one of these guys early. We made the right call of waiting till throwing a dart on Malik Willis in the third round. We're going to do that again. And right now we're seeing a lot of mocks and projections that are having Shedeur Sanders as the number one player, like players up there. From what I've heard, it doesn't seem like there's that level of excitement within the actual scouting community.
Yeah. Dane Brugler, he still has like same as me, Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. They're in the conversation. But when you look at a big board, when you think about having a guy, most time the guy, especially at QB, is the top 5 guy.
Like, or the number one pick.
Or the number one. Yeah. Or the number one.
When there's a quarterback, he's the number one pick in every mock draft that you do. You just are waiting to fill in the team that is going to be making that pick. And that's not what we have this year.
So basically positional value are holding up a lot of people's, because like I think Cam Ward was like his top 15. Shedeur wasn't till a lot later. And like I said, like a lot of Shedeur's tape, it's hard with QBs because you have to just take them for what they are, and then you got to go to a place that can develop them. And the more and more I think about it, it's just, man, the Raiders, well, Tom Brady's there. I just got to see it, man. Like Tom Brady coming in and buying 5% of something isn't going to make me change my thoughts on what the Raiders are. Like if Shedeur or Cam Ward goes there, I'm not really going to, will I draft them? Yeah, but I'm going to fade them a lot further down. So before we go, do you think any of these guys are first round rookie picks right now?
Sanders.
Like dynasty rookie picks. Sorry.
I think Sanders is. But like back half of the first, if you're doing
like
a draft.
Where Bo Nix was? Like where Bo Nix was this year?
If you're doing a draft before the NFL draft starts, like I'll probably just be hammering the wide receivers, the running backs, some of these cool tight ends. And I'll just maybe grab a quarterback in like the late first, or like take one in the second, like take a swing on them. But I don't feel very confident about any of them.
Yeah, the Malik Willis draft taught me that I'm just going to take the running backs and wide receivers that I think are going to be first round picks instead of the quarterback that I'm going to hope is a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
I agree there, because like early draft is where it's at now, because like I'm about to, like I said, release a new one, and I'm fading everyone unless Cam Ward. It's kind of the same thing though with Shedeur Sanders. A lot of people look at the highlights, but I'm like, man, this dude, Mike, you looked at holding the ball. You know who's after Shedeur Sanders? It's Cam Ward. Like, you think he's second there, man. Yeah. And the ACC is better than some places, but it's still kind of soft, So I mean, it's hard to judge.
I just think a lot of these guys are going to go back. And I think guys that can go back, especially quarterbacks that aren't sure thing first round picks, the NIL is going to get to the point where it's just worth it to stick around for another year. Because
Mhm.
I mean, Buckeyes have Julian Sayin, but they're probably excited about him. Well, who's Alabama's quarterback going to be? Is it going to be Jalen Milroe again next year? I just think there's a lot of money that is at play for these guys to stick around for one more year.
We'll end it right there, guys. We'll have more of these later. Like I said, we didn't forget anybody. We only just talked about 4. We'll have Mike back for our trade show. So if you guys have any trade questions, pop them in there for next week because you missed it. Sorry. As always, I'm Jagger May. That's Jeff Bell, and that's Mike Cash. Love you, and we'll see you on the next one.